Hello, it's Gabby here for you. Before we jump onto this week's podcast, I just want to let you know about 2 ways that you can work with me. First of all, I do one-to-one coaching and I do that via Zoom, so we can jump on a Zoom call at a time to suit you. The second thing I've got for you is an online coaching course that's 12 modules that you can download straight away now. There will be a link somewhere around these podcast notes. And this is the course that I've designed, and it's got everything in it that I wish I'd have known when I finished cancer treatment and I was lost. So you can download that course now and you can start working towards making this your happiest and healthiest year ever. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you think. Take care. Bye-bye. Hello there, it's Gabby here for you. And this week I'm talking about the power of connection, people connecting with each other. And it's such an important part of my life, and it's such an important part of many people that I speak to. But have we lost that power of connection? I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means to me, the way that I'm bringing some more connections back into my life. And also, if you are struggling perhaps with making connections, and I know many people I speak to do, they say, oh, I'm not very good at making new friends, I'm not very good at meeting new people. I've got 3 top tips that I'm going to leave you with that might help you with that. So I will leave those with you at the end of this little podcast. But first of all, thinking about connection, and I think for a lot of us, certainly life will never be the same again after 2020. You know, what it did to us on an emotional and a psychological level, you know, the lockdown, the fear of what we were told was going on, it made a lot of people, quite rightly, they were told that they should be afraid. They should be afraid of what was outside. They should be afraid of connecting with other people. And I think that's left a lasting impression on a lot of us, no matter how, you know, whatever you think about what we were told. Doesn't really matter. It's not the point. It's the times that we live through and the way that we all change. I know myself, I've gone from leaving the house every day, working in an office job. At that time, I was working a 9-to-5 office job. And then all of a sudden we were locked in our houses and we were connecting, or in a slightly different way, on Teams calls, on Zoom calls. And we lost that power of connection. And I think we all knew that, you know, it wasn't the same. Yes, you can have a meeting with somebody. Yes, you can talk to them. Yes, you can meet them. But it's not the same, is it? It's not the same at all. And then in my coaching work as well, I mean, it's a beautiful and wonderful thing that I can coach people all around the world. They don't have to be local to me. I can talk to them wherever they are, and we can connect. And that's great. You know, that is really, really good. But there's nothing to me that beats sitting down with somebody, even if it's just to have a cup of coffee and a chat and a catch up. I really, really miss that in those times. And those times are coming back, thank goodness, for most of us. And for me, as I say, I do a lot of my one-to-one coaching online, and it works really well. And we get great results with that. My clients love it. I feed off that. You know, I feed off the progress that I see my clients making. I absolutely love it. You can tell it's not like a job to me. It's something that feeds my soul. But what I am starting to do now is some group coaching sessions local to me where I live in Manchester. Small groups, up to 10 people, where we're going to get together, and it will be cancer survivors, people that have finished treatment. It's not about medical advice, but it's a lot about wellness and all the things that I talk about in my podcast. But it will be tailored more to the group. It will be an interactive session, and I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait. We're going to start that at the end of August, and it's August very soon. So yeah, really, really looking forward to that connection with people. And I think there is something so powerful about a group with a purpose, a common purpose, you know. And in some of the jobs that I've had in the past, I've had that really good connection with the people that I've worked with. And because we were all, if you were aligned to the same goal, we all wanted the same thing. We're all working towards something. And that can be such a powerful thing where you're in a group of people and there's give and take and there's different personalities. The other thing that I see quite often that's really successful is slimming clubs, slimming groups. And I'm not a huge fan of the nutritional advice that's given in some of these slimming groups. But what I am a big fan of is people getting together, and it's usually women. And I've got a good friend who's in a slimming club now. She doesn't really need to go anymore because she's achieved her target weight loss. But she loves the women that go to that group. She loves the group leader. They have a laugh, they have a chat, they catch up with each other, and they're interacting in a very social way. And that is a beautiful thing. And so she'll probably go to that group forever because she just loves doing it. So it's not about so much the losing weight, which is why she went there in the first place. It's not so much about following their nutritional advice, because she's somebody who studied nutrition as well. So she's got her own ideas of what's healthy and what's not. So it's not about following the leader blindly for that, but it is about connecting with other people, like I say, having a good time, having a catch up and a chat. The other type of groups that I've got experience of is cancer support groups, and again, online and in person. And they are, in my experience, such a mixed bag. There's some great ones and there's some not so great ones. And I think if you are thinking about joining the cancer support group, just be very mindful of that, and think about the effect that it's having on you when you speak to those other people. Is it uplifting? Is it positive? Are there good news stories? Now, we know cancer is a heavy subject, and I'm not saying that everybody can be laughing and joking all the time. People will bring some really sad and heartbreaking stories to some of those groups, but it shouldn't be all about doom and gloom, in my view, as well. And I think there is a tendency in some groups to always look for the downside, always look for the bad outcomes, always look for the bad stories. And there can be a bit of victim mentality in there. And I'm really not judging anybody. I'm not here to judge anybody. What I'm saying is, for you personally, if you're thinking about joining one of those groups, just think about how it feels. How does it make you feel when you interact in that group? Do you feel uplifted? Do you feel inspired? Do you feel educated? Do you feel better for being in that group, or worse? Just be a little bit critical of that. And so I have a Facebook group. If you're part of that, I've got two Facebook groups, actually, Confidence After Cancer. One is a very public group. And to be honest, it's got a lot of my friends in it, and general chit chat and general just inspirational quotes and things that I find useful and interesting about nutrition and well-being and mental health. I share a lot of stuff in there in the public group, but I've also got a private Confidence After Cancer Facebook group. So if you're interested in joining that, pop me a message and I can add you to that group. And because some of the things that people share are very intimate, very private, and they're not for public consumption, if you like. And that's fine as well. But also, as you know, I do coach people one-to-one, and people do tell me some really personal things, which I'm very privileged to have that relationship with them. So I'm very conscious all the time that, even though I sometimes say, I know somebody who did such a thing, I would be really mindful. I am really mindful of never to identify that person or to give it a break any confidences. And as I say, I'm not here to judge people. What does this Bible say? Let him who is without a sin cast the first stone. I'm not perfect and I'm not pretending to be, but I have learned a lot about cancer recovery. And this is why I'm here talking to you now. I've learned a lot about managing my own mental health after suffering with anxiety, low self-esteem, with depression. I've experienced all of those things quite seriously at times when I had to reach out to a medical professional. But some of it I could manage myself with the right support around me, and it helps me now to help other people. So I said at the beginning I was going to give you 3 tips if you are somebody who may be thinking about, I would like to connect with more people, but I'm not very good at making friends, or I feel a bit socially awkward. Is quite a common phrase that I'm hearing a lot. I never used to hear this phrase, socially awkward, but it seems to be more of a common thing now, where people, as I say, I don't know if it's to do with what went on in 2020 or just the way that the world is now. The world can seem to be quite a harsh place sometimes. And if it does, again, reach out to me if you want to talk about that. I think I'm very mindful now of curating my social media feed. And it's not that I want to live in an unrealistic bubble, but do you know what? I know there's stuff going on in the world. I know there's some heartbreaking things going on in the world, but I also know there's a lot of good things going on in the world. There's a lot of lovely people out there. Yeah, there might be a few people who are not so good, but I think always the good outweighs the bad. That's how I like to look at it anyway. So my 3 top tips, if you are somebody who struggles with making connections, with making small talk, with knowing what to say when you're in a situation, I would just say there is absolutely nothing wrong with being vulnerable, with admitting to yourself, first of all, that actually this is something I'm not really comfortable with, and just letting that sit with you and just think, okay, you're not comfortable with it, but you want to do something about it, don't you? So that's good. So the first tip is always just be yourself. And, there's a saying I've said before, I don't know, it's Dr. Zeus, I think it first came from. It's, just be yourself. And those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Whatever your faults are, and we've all got faults, we've all got plenty of faults, we've also got things about you that people will love. Yeah, if people don't like you, they're not your people. Okay, the right people will love you if you just be yourself. You can't be all things to all men, but what you can be is yourself always, and think about being true to yourself. The second thing that helped me as well, and it took me a long time to do this, is to be quite open in the right context, of course, but share your fears. Don't pretend that everything's hunky-dory if it's not. If you're feeling a little bit nervous at an event, it's quite all right to say, I'm feeling a bit nervous here, I'm not quite sure what to expect. Don't make it a big thing, because it's not all about you. But sometimes sharing that little bit of vulnerability with somebody else, and they might say, I felt a bit like that as well. I felt a bit strange walking into this room when I didn't know anybody, but it's good to meet you. How are you? What are you up to? And the third thing I would say is just don't pretend to be something that you're not. And I see a lot of this on social media, and I see a lot of other coaches as well pretending that they've got all the ducks in a row, pretending that their life's perfect. Nobody has a perfect life. I can tell you that for nothing in my experience. But just don't pretend to be perfect, because nobody is perfect. And as I say, people that expect you to be perfect, they're not being very realistic. But the most important thing is you and how you feel about yourself. You shouldn't expect yourself to be perfect. Yeah, we all make mistakes, we all move on. Hopefully we learn from those mistakes and we move on. So in summary, I just want to say, for me personally, the value of human connection, with all these things that I've talked about, the ups and downs, it's not a perfect thing. Relationships are not a perfect thing, you know. There's pluses and minuses to everything. But for me, the value of human connection is one of the biggest things that got me out of a black hole when I was feeling depressed. Connecting with other people and realizing sometimes, you know, I'm not the only one who's got problems. Some people have got it a lot worse than I have. Doesn't mean my problems don't matter, because they do. But actually, the value of human connection can be a big stepping stone in recovering your mental health if you've got any struggles. Reach out to somebody, talk to somebody if you need to. And if you haven't got anybody that you can talk to, you know where I am, get in touch with me. So as always, I would urge you to stay safe and stay sane. Have a wonderful week, my darling, and I will speak to you very, very soon. Thank you.